damn. I think that's the best way to say it. Because I had to think about this more than a couple of times before I turned this camera on. For the fourth time. I always screw up the first 3 or 2 before I get started. That's just me. I know not many people will say, but I'm an honest guy. I like producing something that makes some sense, that you guys will love. And let's make this clear. You look at this show. I don't know if everyone's going to review it. I know Jesse has already reviewed it already. He's already been talking about it as it is, I'm sure, but he's been doing it for the last 10 to 20 minutes already. Easily. While I've been setting up, getting the camera, and messing up at least 3 or 4 times before starting this camera. But when you look at the scale of this entire show, this Impact Plus show that's being done monthly or every couple of weeks, from top to bottom, did it work? Yes. Was production, and you guys know me. I try to tell you what is good about the show, what is bad about the show, what is ugly. We got the wrestling itself, we got the production value, we got the characters and the storyline. That is the most important thing that people look for in a show. Whether it's UFC, whether it's reality, whether it's pro wrestling, you got to be able to understand what's going on, you got to be able to hear what's going on, you got to be able to see what's going on. And I will tell you, 100%, that this show was not perfect, but from top to bottom, for production, for storyline, for wrestling itself, generally was good. So I will not be surprised if more than a few people will give praise to this Impact Plus show, not a pay-per-view, a plus show. Guys, this is now the second time I've been surprised by an Impact Plus show that has been done reasonably well, other than the last one, The Siege, where the camera work was horrendous. Here, the camera work was actually good, which I still don't understand. How can they get their camera work good generally on the Impact Plus shows? Generally, they do have stinkers. And on their pay-per-views, sometimes they screw up really badly, but generally their camera work is good. But on the damn show, the Impact Zone can't get it done. Whoever is running that should get their asses smacked and thrown out of the Impact, just thrown away. You're fired. Because here, this show from top to bottom was damn good. What we got on the kickoff? We got Killer Kelly with a returning Nevaeh. I'm shocked. Well, mainly due to the fact they were in Columbus, Ohio. And she's from there. She came out and she wrestled. Now, was she good? No. She felt off. Now, mind you, the way she looked, I like Nevaeh when she had the dark hair, because she looks much more better as a dark haired girl than having kind of like a blondish look to her hair. For me personally, I think that's much better for her. But honestly, this match really didn't mean much. It was a 7-minute match. Nevaeh got on TV. I don't know if she's back. It would be good if she is, because we need more women on the roster anyway, counting if she has a short-term contract or if she's going to do a couple of tapings. But at least have another woman next to what's going on with Terrorizing and Sparks. Yes, I didn't say anything in the Impact review, but I did see the BTI segment with Marsha Slamovich, which I got a lot to talk about with that. When it came to Terrorizing and Sparks, I mean, it would be nice to see more of these women on TV. I'm just saying. The Digital Media Championship, Joe Henley versus Dirty Dango, where I do not agree with the ending of it. Guys, if you like, and you know who you are, my friends, I call you Stefan. I know your name is Steven, but I call you Stefan because you got to be fancy. I know you love Johnny Swinger, and Dirty Dango was a competitor to Johnny Swinger. He was funny. But seeing him in this persona was way better. But here's the thing. Why in the blues of blue fuck you built up Dirty Dango, making him sound like someone who not only didn't care about pro wrestling, but messes with the wrestlers and the marks, us. And you let him lose. Why? Why? why did you let him lose? Now, was the match all right? It was all right, but I got to admit this. When it comes to Joe Hendley, he's got a problem. He's got a great look. He's got a decent, not a great persona, but a decent one. But his ring work is much to be desired, particularly his power game. The guy is not that strong. Look, Dirty Dango's about 240, maybe 230. No, 240, 250. I take that back, not 230. Say about near 250. He tries to do a from the ground up suplex. He does not have the physical strength to do that. I don't know why he keeps doing these power moves that literally he doesn't do very well. It's not about him doing a suplex. It's about him doing more than just that suplex. He adds on top of that suplex, try to do a stalling suplex, and then try to do squats with it, which he can't do very well. He's not that strong. Now, either he needs to start bulking up. Yeah, bulking up. Or just drop that. Because sooner or later, I'm telling you right now, I'm saying this openly. I don't hate Joe. But if he one day does this with somebody that's even more heavier than a Dirty Dango nearing 300 pounds, and the way his body works, I think he's going to blow out a knee. I don't want him to blow out his knees, but I think because he thinks he's capable of doing that, he's going to blow out one of his knees. He'll blow out an ACL because he just doesn't have the physical strength to do it. I'm just saying. And that was the opening of the kickoff. I do not agree with Dirty Dango. I'm glad to see Nevaeh. Maybe she's going to be back for a little bit. Maybe she'll be dealing with she'll say hi to Jessica and hi to Courtney. Maybe they'll do something. Maybe there might be a feud with them. Maybe she'll be demanding that Havoc come back. And then there'll be a feud that way. But that's just me. You guys tell me below. Now, here is another match that I'm going like, what? You got Eddie versus Kaz. The two generational, well, I should not say generational. That's more for Trey Miguel and more for Chris Sabin. What we got here are two locker room leaders, as they state. One that's supposed to be the heart of Impact Wrestling before he designed and created Honor No More. And then another one who was the future, who literally was at the very opening, the very beginning of TNA. And Frankie Kazarian, about to say Christopher Daniels, he also was in. He was mentioned a couple of times during the show, but you got one of the other guys who literally opened the damn company. He was there. He literally was there nearing the beginnings of the opening of the company. Other than two that I will be talking about at the end of this review. He's been there near the beginning. Not the beginning, but near, well, I think he was at the beginning. But it doesn't feel like it means a lot. They need to make this important that since they're both considered locker room leaders, Kaz wanted to come back to try and make something out of the locker room, and then Eddie saying that the locker room is garbage, the way they treat people, and I'm going to remake it in my own image. They need to focus on that. Why not have some of the younger talent like Gunjer, like Yamura, like, who else would be good? Notch and Skylar and others. Let them deal with them instead of Brian Myers. That would be interesting. But we don't get that. We get a straightforward match where it's about Killer Kowalski's school and the two Killer Kowalskis. Well, you got Kaz, who was with Killer Kowalski earlier than Eddie. Before. I think Killer Kowalski died in between the time between Frankie getting trained and Eddie getting trained. Somewhere in between there, he passes away. So Eddie might have been trained right at the end of his life, and Frankie was there while he was still alive and still kicking to a certain extent. If you're going to make it about Killer Kowalski, why not really go all the way with it? Have posters of Killer Kowalski. See if you can talk to his family saying, look, we want to use some of your husband's stuff if his wife's alive, if his daughter or son is alive, or grandchildren. We want to make this about Killer Kowalski for these two guys in this story. That's what I think would have been better if they're not going with the locker room leader stuff. And they're kind of saying this is about locker room, and I don't feel it. Now, Alicia being involved in the entire match, I loved, because they're finally letting her be dealing with, and I hope they go forward with this, that she comes down to the ring and that she interacts in the match. She doesn't do that. I don't remember the last time she's interacted with a match and messed it up. This is it. She messed up the match multiple times and was ejected, but at least it makes sense having her there as a manager. Why don't she act like it? Be a manager for her hubby, the father of her kids, for a little while, for a couple of months, for maybe 4 or 5 months. Then you could focus where Eddie could be her manager, coming out to help her to win some matches. Why not? But this is what we get. In the end, Kaz wins. But what does this really mean? Does this mean the feud is over? I don't think so. But if it is, it felt lackluster. But I'm not saying the match was bad. They both did a good match, taking away from Alicia. Now, the match that I kind of talked about, two of the guys that's supposed to be influenced by the two locker room leaders of Eddie and Kaz, the helping hands, with Brian Myers working with Bullet Club AB. And you got to say Austin Bay. You got to say the AB Club. Why don't you just say it like that? But I did it that way. Good match. It was not bad at all. At one point, there were two moves that I did like, where you basically had, now what did I write here? I'll give you like this. Seeing a suicide dive from how can I put this? I don't have the shot of it. I don't think I do. But seeing Ace Austin jump out and do a suicide dive onto Brian Myers while he's basically grabbing someone else, after he already nailed someone and jumped straight out, that was very good. But seeing the Chris Bay jumps over the ref, does a helo, and nails everyone that way, it's not something that's not uncommon. It's not something that hasn't been done, but he made it look so damn effortless. It's a good thing to see. Now understand, you guys know me. I'm not a big spot guy. I'm not. But I got to recognize when the spots are done well, and it makes it mean something. And for both of them, doing it together at a few seconds separated wasn't bad. In the end, of course, Bullet Club did not lose. But I will say that I did like it, and seeing that Hunch and Scholar were spotlighted pretty damn well. They're both great wrestlers. Their mic skills are much to be desired, but hopefully they'll work more with Brian Myers, who is good on the mic. They'll improve. That's just me, guys, down below. Next, the match that I said would happen. What did I tell you about Killer Kelly, and what did I tell you about Marshall Samovich? I told you that they're going to have the most destructive and vicious matches you're going to see. This is not the end of it. Guys, it's not over yet. I doubt it. Unless they're going to become a tag team, or they're going to start dating each other because of the way they were acting. Which I think they're just going to become either a tag team or just fight each other even more. This is what I said was going to happen. There was going to be brutality across the board between these two. And seeing a knockouts dog collar match, which hasn't happened in 4 years, just a dog collar match in general, it was very good. I believe it was nearly 12 minutes, between 10 to 12 minutes easily. And you could see that they were really leaning into the brutality, seeing how Marsha was trying to choke the living fuck out of Killer Kelly. And Killer Kelly, to her part, not just sold it, but loved it. The smile she had on her face, I believe I got one of the shots of her smiling. It's in my face, I think. It was very well done. I loved it. She did very well. In the end, Marsha won, which I'm not surprised. There's no way they're going to put Killer Kelly over Marsha because of what she's done when she worked with Jordan Grace twice, when she worked with Mickie James, when she worked with Deonna Purrazzo. I think she worked with Deonna Purrazzo, once. I can't remember. But essentially, you can see they had to put her over, and then next to Killer Kelly licking her in the face and then headbutting her, she grabs Killer Kelly after the match was over, pulled her up, kissed her hand, rubbed her on the face, and walked away. And Killer Kelly looking like, I'm getting that ass tonight. That's the look she gave. That is the look she gave. Now, does that mean their feud is over? I don't believe it's over yet. I just don't see it being finished. Unless they become a tag team, which would make the best sense. Both of them are extremely violent wrestlers. And it would make sense to make them eventually become a tag team. But I just don't see it happening now. But I could be wrong. We don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks of tapings. We will find out. But this was a damn good match. But I'm going to say this ahead of time, just in case I forget. The Columbus, Ohio crowd was not very good. They were lukewarm in most cases, where they should have been loud. But that also could be that the audio was not very good. The audio, most of the time for the show, was a bit low. So if they were loud, we wouldn't have heard it anyway, because audio was a bit low. Lighting was okay. At least enough that they didn't want people to know how few or how many people were there. Still, they don't do it right. But it wasn't so dim that it was pure darkness. You could still see the people and the walls, and knowing there wasn't a huge amount of people there, but you could see it. Next, let's go to one of the 3 matches that was really good. This was the X Division match. Trey Miguel versus Chris Sabin for the X Division title. Chris Sabin, this was his shot to become a 9-time champion, being the first one in history. Because there's never been anyone before him that reached 9. He's the first one if he could achieve it, which he did. We know he did. If you've seen the show, you know he did win. But in between the ringing of the bell and him becoming champion, what did we get? We got a very methodical match, which I know not many people are going to enjoy. But if you care about a match where psychology was important, next to hard-hitting, next to high-flying, next to some level of submission, which we got a lot from Trey Miguel. My boy Trey did a decent job of showing that he had versatility. That next to kicking some ass, next to now becoming a ring general, that he doesn't need to jump out of the ring anymore. He doesn't need to run all over the place to make people think of him. He can just do the moves, wait. What? Caters and ponders to the crowd, pisses off the crowd. He learned what many of the greats have understood, that doing the spots is one thing, but you got to make the spots mean something. You got to give it time to ferment. You got to give it time to marinate. You got to give it time to care. And he's done it. He's finally reached the point that I say clearly again, if you want to throw him into the main title scene, and now knowing who's the new champ, you can't. You should. But I do have my thoughts on the new champ. I will tell you about it, and I'm going to be honest. But you can see Trey did a great job. Chris has always been good, Chris Sabin. It's not the problem with him. This was about Trey showing what he can truly do, putting someone over and making himself look great while doing it. Showing that he had versatility in his wrestling where he was doing submission. Showing that he can take his time and not rush to do the match and piss off the crowd more. To interact with the crowd. To show that he can lead a match the way he wants. And at one point, doing what he's done before multiple times with the spray and spraying a Chris in the eyes, but didn't win that way. He had 2 spray bottles. He tried to spray him. He did with the first one. Didn't work. He knew it wasn't going to work. Then the second one, he did spray him, but didn't get the pin. Hearing him scream and yell, getting pissed off, which is also part of psychology. He did great. In the end, Chris Sabin wins, and he does become a 9-time X Division champion, the first one in history of Impact Wrestling and TNA. Great. The person I felt that got the best out of that was Trey Miguel. And I'm hoping, and this is for me personally, 2 things. Two. First one, that Trey goes away for about a couple of months to take a break. Because he's been going on the go for months. And I want to see him get some rest. Yes, there are tapings. Yes, he does some tapings, takes a break, then does some more tapings, takes a break. I really want to see him go away for about 2 or 3 months. Like, he missed the first couple of tapings to get some rest, because if you saw his, it was an old recording of the dailies, of his diary, not dailies, diary. He needs some rest. I want him to get some rest. I want him to find a girl if he doesn't have one, or a guy. It depends on what floats his boat. I don't care. I want to see him stay healthy. I want to see him get some rest, because wrestlers can get burnt out very easily. And I don't want to see him get burnt out again, because he was in his diary saying, I was ready to quit. If it wasn't for Shelly, I would have quit. So I want to make sure he stays all right. But then when he comes back, I want him in the main title picture. I want to see him go into the main title picture as a contender, because he's proven how he's grown as a character and a wrestler. That's just me. You got some below. Tell me. Next, we got the 8-4-1 match. Let's make this clear. This was going to be a huge cluster. There was no way this wasn't going to be messy. And seeing the interview between the Bully, the Nick, the Jonathan, and finally the Heath, you knew there was going to be heat with all four of those guys. And during the match, this is what we got. You got Heath Slater, Bully Ray, Jonathan Gresham, and Nick Aldis versus PCO, Rich Swann, Bailey, and I forgot Bailey was in the match. I'm glad he was there. And the frickin' Moose. Who was the one who shined the best? Moose. Who else shined the best in the match? Jonathan Gresham. Not saying the others didn't do a great job, but it was Moose and Jonathan Gresham. I want to see Jonathan up against Moose. I want to see Moose up against Jonathan. Throw them into a feud where the big tall guy goes up against a scrawny runt who's like Wolverine, and he pretty much says, "You're nothing but a damn twerp. I scrape you off my foot." And he says, "Really? Let's try it." And I want to see them in a program. That's me. But the one who won, which truly pissed off everybody else, was the team of Bully Ray. Well, actually, it was Moose who got the pin and pissed everybody off a little bit. But it was Moose, Gresham, Bully, and Heath. Everyone else is gone. I did kind of get a little worried about... No, my mistake. I'm getting them mixed up. Because at one point, Moose was trying to attack Jonathan, but he nails Rich Swann. And it was kind of something about, oh, these two guys, they just really did this. That's how I got a little confused. But it's actually Bully Ray, Nick Aldis, Heath, as well as Gresham, I believe. Was Jonathan Gresham? Yeah, Jonathan Gresham was in that match. And the one thing that's going to make me happy, if it happens, is not that Nick Aldis won. And I'm fine with Nick winning. I'm glad he did. I'm glad he did. I want to see, and I think many people want to see this at Slammiversary, Bully Ray versus a Scott D'Amore. Because Scott comes out when Bully Ray was about to attack and nail in the back. Who was it? I can't remember who. It was Jonathan Gresham. Oh, not in the back. He was going to nail him in the face. Bully stopped him. No. How can I say this? It should have had more than just him hitting him in the back, Bully. And that's Scott. He stopped him. But I felt like he should have kicked him in the nuts. Well, actually, maybe I shouldn't worry about that, because it was decided that Jonathan Gresham would headbutt Bully Ray in the nuts. I don't got a shot at that. Maybe that's the reason why Scott D'Amore didn't nut shot him, because I feel like he should have nut shot him, but it was Heath and Nick that was holding Bully's legs open, and Jonathan, and after that he's going, that means instead of hitting here, he hit him here. Oh, brown nose, ew. But you get my point. That's what we got. Nick wins. He's going to Slammiversary. Admittedly, I want to see Moose go against Jonathan Gresham. And I want to see... I think more than just Moose and Jonathan. I definitely want to see Scott D'Amore versus a Bully Ray. It's got to happen. If they don't let this happen, it's going to feel like it's a waste of time. Unless they're going to do it at, not Slammiversary, but Bound for Glory. I'll be alright with that. If they continue building up that. Let's move on. This was honestly the weaker of all the matches here. And I'm not saying it because I don't love the knockouts. You guys know I do. But this was one of the weaker matches that could have been left on Impact Wrestling. Not for the Impact Plus show. Just being honest. Deanna Purrazzo and Trinity versus Gazelle Shaw and Savannah Evans. Let me give it to you like this. Was it a bad match? No. It was not bad. There were botches. Yes, Trinity botched. Savannah Evans botched. More than a few times. Trinity did one major botch when it was nearing the end of the match where she was supposed to springboard off of the second turn rope to do a kick to the head to Savannah Evans, but she only got one leg on it, and she barely managed to push off with that one leg she had on the rope and nail her on the shoulder, which Savannah tried to sell, which looked really bad. It was bad. That's just a botch on my girl. That happens. Botching happens. Savannah Evans botched. I think Deanna Purrazzo maybe botched once in the very opening of the match. So, and the one who looked the best there, Gazelle Shaw. Look, I love me Trin. You know I love me Trinity. But I'm not going to tell you Trinity was the shining star of this match. Yes, she was the goal of the match. But the one who looked the best was Gazelle Shaw. She shows that she's grown a lot as a wrestler. Whether you like her or not. And not everyone likes her because they think, she hasn't been booked correctly or she's not one of the greatest wrestlers. I do believe she hasn't been booked that well. I still wish she had been the Black Widow, like I suggested. But as a quintessential diva, she has done pretty damn well. I'm not saying it was perfect, but it was done well enough that it's been sold. People do agree with it. In the end, you know who won. And you see that, how can I say this? Gazelle and Evans really wanted to make sure Deanna Purrazzo, who did get the pin, she won. She won that match. That she would suffer for it. And the one who saved her was Trin. Trin saved her. Now, the thing that not many people are going to talk about, but they'll mention it, was when it was over, and both of them were facing each other, Deanna and Trin, shook hands. Trin was a little hesitant, but not only did she shake her hand, she gave her a big hug. And that is, and I want to make this clear, when you see Trinity, and the little dance afterwards, shaking a little bit of ass on both of them, you have to admit, not just because Trin did show, even though she botched at least one major botch in the match, you could see she's happy. Guys, she is freaking happy. I am so glad, even if she's only there for a year. I don't think she's going to stay there long. Maybe a year, maybe two, you don't know. It counts on what type of contract she signed. She may go to AEW, but she decided to stay in Impact first, and then eventually go to AEW. But I'm telling you right now, seeing Trinity happy, you can feel it in how she works the ring, how she performs, how she's interacting with the other wrestlers. She's energetic, she's bubbly, she's literally having fun. And that's what I've always wanted for her. As one of the people who has been watching her since 2012, when I'm one of the few people who knew from the very beginning, the first year when she was a Funkadactyl, with the Funkasaurus and Cameron, that there was something different about her. Go look at I don't have a playlist anymore. I mean, I do have a playlist, but I didn't add it. You're going to have to look through all my content. You'll have to look for the videos where I talk about her, where I legitimately said that there's something special about her and she needs to leave WWE. I did that many years ago. Let's move on to the Ohio Street Fight with the Design versus Ohio versus everyone. Everything. Not everyone, everything. Well, I think the reason I botched here is that we just got a returning Madman Fulton, Jay Chris. Am I happy to see Ohio versus everything? For this match, yes. But seeing them back, I'm going to be honest, no. I'm not happy to see them back because I have a feeling that they will be doing some recordings versus the Design. Ohio versus everything versus the Design. If this is a one-off and Madman Fulton's only back for this match, I'm fine with it. But I'm being honest, I'm not fond of seeing Ohio versus everything back. The reason I don't want to see them back is that a lot of times what Impact does, they rehash the same thing, they bring something back, which is great. Like bringing back Aces and Eights, if they ever did. They brought them back briefly a couple of times. But a lot of times what Impact has a tendency to do and screw it up is when they bring something back or bring someone back, they don't book them correctly. They don't. They just don't. A lot of times they completely screw up the pooch of it. Because a lot of times what they're supposed to do is not just make them stay in the same mold they were in. You can have them come back, use about maybe 30 or 40% of what they did before, and then change them into something else. Make them grow from that. They don't do that. They just make them do the exact same thing over and over and over again until it becomes nauseating. And that's what I'm worried about well, if I base it off of past experience, not this match, I feel that Ohio versus everything is just going to be a mess. It's going to suck very quickly because nothing new will happen. We will see the same old damn thing, the same old ass rehashing of Jake, of Sammy, and of Madman Fulton. Nothing new, something substantial. We won't get it. But if you see it off of this match, off of how Madman Fulton acted, off of Jake Chris happening, it could be something new. It could be. The match itself was damn good. But I knew there was going to be a major problem with camera work, which it was. It was like the cameramen or cameramen who were not running the hard cam and not running the crane. It's just, how can I say this? The two guys who were at ringside tried their best to record this, but didn't do a great job. They didn't. They tried. It was messy. Really messy. Now, many people say that happens in a street fight with multiple people. Yes, but they were really sloppy. Overhead cam, the crane, barely used when they could have pulled it back easily and get as much of the area as possible and use that more. They didn't. And then the hard cam. It wasn't that the hard cam couldn't have been repositioned, but they could have angled it at least a little lower and turned it to a certain angle to give you something. Doesn't mean we didn't see enough in the ring. It was good around the ring and in the ring. It was okay. It was a decent match. I'm not going to tell you it was incredible, but it was a decent match from both of them. In the end, guess who won? You know who won. It had to be them. It was OVE. But the question is going to be now, how are they going to book OVE going forward if it stays? This still could be a possible one-off with Madman Fulton. I don't think so. I do believe that he's back now for a little while for a little program with Jake and Sammy to deal with the design. Maybe at least 2 or 3 months of recordings they'll do before either they stop before... Let me give it to you like this. They may stop before... I don't know. It's a very strong possibility they will make it to Bound for Glory. But I do believe it'll be at least 2 or 3 months before Bound for Glory. It'll be over and it'll be done on Impact. And they will be gone. But that's just me, guys. Comment below. You never know. Now, final match. The World Heavyweight Championship. You got Alex Shelley versus Steve Macklin. Here's the thing. Damn good match. The best match of the night. It was. This was the best freaking match of the night. It outshined them all because of what the importance of it. This was Alex Shelley, who's been in Impact at the very beginning. He literally started Impact, in 2002 to 2003. He has been wrestling on and off consistently for Impact for multiple years, for over a decade. He's been wrestling on and off for Impact. He's one of the originals of Impact. That's what the story was. Could he ever win the big one? And that's what the entire premise was about. And did they fulfill that? Yes. They made it so clear that Alex Shelley could win the big one. That Steve Macklin, who is not the caliber of a wrestler of a Alex Shelley, could he keep up with him? Yes, he could. But would he cheat? Yes, he would. Because at one point he did grab one of the turnbuckles, and I believe I got a shot of it into my face, that he tore it off, but admittedly, which made me happy, he didn't immediately go to it. Like what they would do in WWE when once the turnbuckles were ripped off, within about a minute, they would go to it. No. In this case, it took him quite a while before he did actually use it. And multiple times, it was him being used by it, getting whacked, which made it more easier for Shelley to win the match, which he did. And I know I can fill in even more blanks in here, but I would recommend you watch the match because it was about story. Yes, it was a very fast-paced match. There was some very good amount of spots. There was a lot of chain wrestling. There's no way there wasn't. But in this situation, I'm telling you right now, you need to see the match for yourself. I'm not going to fully describe it. I'm not a play-by-play guy. I'm just not going to. But I am going to tell you at least a few moments where the NID was used, where Shelley tried the Border City stretch multiple times, couldn't get it in, but eventually he did get it in, and then he did win. And when he won, the first thing he did, once he won and the ref laid the title in front of him, he picked it up and he hugged the ref. He legitimately hugged the damn ref. He hugged the ref. Then within a minute, you see Shelley with Sabin. And both of them hugging each other. You know what the thought that came in my head? And I know not everyone is going to agree with this. But when you look at WrestleMania 20, when you see a Eddie Guerrero who won the WWE Championship, and you see the one will not be named, but I'm going to name him, Chris Benoit, won the world title. That was a memory that so many people loved because it was two guys who's known each other for so many years, who legitimately were friends, who loved each other like family, where unfortunately both have now passed away. One by a heart attack and the other one by taking his own life, which I'm not condoning him. I'm not telling you that he was a great guy. He fucked up and took his life and his kid and his wife life. Flat out. And the person who has to deal with that legacy is his oldest son, because he does have other kids. He had another son before the one that passed, he took the life of. So he has to deal with that as a wrestler himself, being known as Chris Benoit's son. Not that he'll end up like his father, but that is a stigma that will stick with him as long as he wrestles. And as long as he lives, that his father did what he did. But if you take that away, you look at two wrestlers back in 2005 that both of them loved each other legitimately like family. They were best friends. And they both were given the opportunity to hold the titles of the company. Yes, one title was much more substantially weak than the other. They gave Eddie the big title, while they gave Chris the more medium title of world champion. This is what we got here. You got Alex Shelley given the main title, and you got Chris Sabin given the medium title. Not talking about the Digital Media Championship, which is a lower tier title. These are two guys that are legitimately the OGs of the company. They were both there when the damn doors opened. Within the first year or so, they were both there. And I think Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley were in some of the first matches that they ever did in the Asylum, I believe. These guys legitimately are the OGs of the company. And for them to be given at the same time on the same show the titles that mean the most to the company, that's going to represent the company if they go and do interviews, if they go and do anything press conference wise, if they're doing any type of merchandise sales, they're giving it to them. That's the deal at this moment, whether you like it or not. But here's the thing. And as a person who reviews this and is honest about it, what do we actually got here? Big question mark. Because of what we've been given by Impact Wrestling. We got two guys who have been known to be the OGs of the company. That have never been the top guys. Never been the top of the X Division, had an accolade like Chris Sabin now has as the 9-time champion. It's the first time in history. No one's done before him. Then Alex Shelley, who's never been champion. Chris did back in 2013, I believe. Now Alex, who's only been a one-time exhibition champion, I think a 3-time tag champion, and a 3-time or 4-time Impact champion, TNA and then Impact. He's been given the reins. But here's the thing. We just got the title hot potatoed. Now, what does that mean? If, and understand, what I felt months ago when it came to I know people are going to say, dude, really? Yes. When it comes to Josh Alexander, when he had that shot against Josh, it would have been best if he won it there. Because that would have been after a very long title reign. And even if he was a transitional champion, it wouldn't hurt the company. It wouldn't. No problem. But Josh got hurt after that match. And he dropped the title. They had the tournament. And Steve Maclin won it. And this was his second title defense. And Steve's done. Now, of course, Steve could get a rematch. It doesn't mean they'll just switch it right back to him. Unless they're going to be that stupid, unless maybe Alex is hurt. Or maybe Maclin might be hurt. I don't think he is. We just had a long title reign with one person, and Josh Alexander get hurt. They had a tournament. They give it to Steve Maclin. He just had his first title defense against PCO in a match that is now going to be recognized as one hell of a match on the Impact show that literally adds to this one. This show was not bad. This was a damn good show. Camera work was actually better than the show last time. They surprised us. They did a great show here. They did a great show there even though the camera was bad. But honestly, you just gave Maclin the title and now he's become a transitional champion unless he's going to win it back from Shelley before Slammiversary, which he will not. You're going to have Nick Aldis. And the way I see it, I will be shocked if they don't let Nick get that damn title. Because honestly, I see Nick as the next champion. Now, do I believe he should win it now? Knowing that it's Alex Shelley? No. But I would not be surprised if they give it to Nick. Which means they will go from Steve to Alex to Nick. 3 times within 4 months, at least 4 or 5 months, that we just went from the original champion who got hurt. They went to a tournament. They crowned a champion. He just won. And now after his first defense where he did damn well, that made waves. People recognized that was a damn good match. He now lost it to Shelley, who within a month is going to be defending it again. Well, be defending it for the first time. And could lose it to Nick Aldis. I'm worried that they're hot potatoing that damn title. But maybe they will allow him to keep it. But then the question is going to be, what would it gain? Will Alex Shelley move merchandise? Will he bring in more interest to the product? Will Chris Sabin bring more interest to the product as the X Division champion, as a 9-time champion? Will the product get better ratings? Whether you like it or not, ratings are still cared about. That's what Anthem looks for. That's what Access TV still looks for. They need to know that their show is trying to build themselves to make a name which will give more interest not only to their own shares, but also to the network. That's just me. And this is Against All Odds 2023. Please leave a comment below. I will say now that I am going to be looking at SmackDown tomorrow. I got something to do tomorrow. But I'm going to see if I can see SmackDown. That'll probably be later in the night. Maybe in the evening. I might be able to see it, or the afternoon. Peace.